Game 3, Fabiano Caruana was a point ahead against his French challenger MVL Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So Caruana in Game 3 with white pieces opens with 1 d4. The Frenchman is having surprises in his bag, has another surprise on the very first move, f5, the touch defense. Caruana following the main line of semi-Leningrad variation, and the players are not diverting from the main line, so that's very cool. e5, so now striking into the center. This was taken en passant, and now b3 from Caruana. So it looks a little bit scary opening this, but it's safe. If knight goes here, then knight takes, f takes, and now knight d4 secures in the center, also attacking the bishop. So if you play c5, then we'll take the bishop, and there will be a fork on queen and rook. So not so threatening this move. MVL continues its development, and now bishop b2, so securing the knight. So everything is standard up to now. Both players concentrated on their developments. Very cool. Bishop f7, e6 to f7, just opening this line to this pawn, which is quite significant in some positions. Knight e2, and here I assumed that MVL or Caruana would go for a repetition, because they repeated the moves from, of course, from different knights, but I expected a repetition in this position. But here, after this move, MVL plays d5, so now getting away from the repetitive sequences. Okay, this was taken, and now knight retreats back to f3, knight to f3, because there are two knights on d file and both can come to f3, so knight to f3 notation has to be remembered. But let's have a look at knight takes e4, and just to repeat it, after bishop takes e5, let's look at knight takes e4 in this position. It looked quite odd when knight jumped from here to here, sorry about that. But then bishop takes e4, and position isn't so bad. With queen c4, bishop d5, bishop takes, knight takes, position is roughly level. You might see a lot of trades going on here with this, and might see potential this. So all cool up to so far. But after knight to f3, things were looking a little bit shaky for Caruana, but still position wasn't as threatening. Rook d1 indeed was, because you want to activate f rook, but you have to remember two knights are attacking at f2 square, so it was quite necessary not to move this rook, but rather to move this rook. But still, he could have done away with it. So c5, knight goes from to b5, and now bishops were exchanged. a6 challenging the knight. Knight c3. Well, alternative way would have been to play queen f6 in this position, but I don't think that it would have changed anything significantly. The queen g7 being played. Rook c1, putting more protection to this knight. Bishop c6, tucking it back, opening this file for the rook. Might see potential rook f2 once this knight goes off, and probably Black will try to play knight e5, taking this, and then rook barraging down to d2. But that's for the later, being h3, just tucking that knight away. Knight goes to f6. And now bulk of exchanges, but Caruana declines the queen exchange. b5, MVL trying to push his queenside majority. Rook d1, rook f d1, and now king h7. To me it looked like a bit odd. Ideal would have been, well, may as well to just exchange rooks and simplify the position. Although white now has an open file, but still not too clear. Nevertheless, king h7 played. Knight goes to d2, rook c8. This was, and mass exchanges at e4, but this allows rook d6 in this position. That's the point of making this loose pawn, and one of these pieces have to take care of this. There's also potential of playing this rook here and pinning queen against the king. That will also create a lot of pressure. Ideal move would have been this to this, but it is too slow. Not to mention this queen is also barraging down at c5, so this rook is overloaded. It cannot go away from the c file. c4, and now rook c d1, threatening rook, pinning the king. Rook goes back, and now rook takes a6. So Caruana is a pawn up in this position. Well, how crucial that pawn would be, you'll see later in the game. Rook d7. This was taken, and again some exchanges and different sort of trades going on. You see a4. So basically the idea is to deflect this queen from the protection so that this passed pawn is also gets exchanged, which is what happened. h5, a5, and this was taken. So now Caruana is a pawn up, but there is a catch in this position. There is no passed pawn, and this 4-3 majority won't be significant. The king is also at this side of the board, so MVL has good drawing chances, even though being a pawn down, that's very significant in the end games. If you are a pawn down, so you have to make sure that there is no passed pawn in the position. You have to make your pawn down advantage, or should I say disadvantage, your least weakness in the position. And what is the least weakness? You have all those pawns at the same side. This is what MVL has, but let's see how the game pans out. Queen a1 check by MVL, queen a7, just securing the 7th rank, so there are no checks from this queen. Queen f4, just strengthening the queen's position. Queen e5, queen b7, nothing so significant up to now. Queen e7 check, so king h6. Up to everything is all normal, and now here's good thing. It might seems like MVL has equal the pawn, but queen h4 check simplifies the position, and now queen b1 would be a draw. It has been seen, but with this passed pawn you never know what can happen. So in this position, after simplification, Caruana has a passed pawn, and this is a very dangerous passed pawn. It has an open area. Just go bang, bang, bang. bang and bang. That's the plan. That's the main plan from Caruana. Let's see, can MVL hold this? Still very tricky, not easy to convert. Can the Frenchman hold this position? Let's move ahead. Queen d5 check. King goes up. Queen c6. Pretty standard up to now. And now Caruana starts to push his e pawn. Queen b7. So this pawn is now looking threatening. f3. So even this pawn also comes into the game, blocking the check. And now slowly but surely Caruana is making some progress. Now putting his king into safe position. Queen e6 stops the pawn, but that is for temporarily strengthening the king's position. Here's the good move, king g3. Queen b3, again pinning this pawn. Queen d4, queen e6, queen d6, now offering the exchange of queens. If this is taken, then this leads to very bad things for black. You take this, and now this king will gobble up this pawn, and also take this square also, so this king cannot create an opposition. So sensibly MVL declines queen exchange. Queen f5, queen e7 check, king goes to g8, queen d8 check. Still MVL is defending the punches quite well. Queen c7, king g8, queen c4 check. So basic idea is to now play e6, king g7, queen exchange declined, queen d4, king f7, f4, queen b3 check, king h4, queen b7, queen d1. Still things are a bit shaky for black, but black is still doing well to hold on this position. He has improved his king position, and it's ready to come to e6 and try to block this pawn. That's very important. But also this king has to take care of his own pawn. If this goes, and with this 2 running down the board, then that would be decisive. Let's see how it goes. King g7, queen a1. So far so good. Caruana is doing well in this position, although still a bit tricky. Basic idea is to keep this queen into this diagonal, so once e6 goes, the f4 doesn't stay loose and undefended. So that's another thing. Queen f5, e6, pawn is rolling through, looking very dangerous. Queen e4, nice move. King f2, and now the only move which I assume draws in this position. Perhaps he could have played g5 as well to exchange this pawn. That would also be a draw. But more convincing looks queen f5. So if e7, then black can save itself by playing king f7, and that position would be draw. However, having been playing very quickly, both players, Caruana had about 8 minutes and MVL had about 13 minutes in a 15-10 rapid game, and he makes a blunder which loses the game. King g7 is a mistake. Queen e7 check, king h6, and here the simple move would have been queen f6. and this king is so far away, this pawn absolutely no difference to e7 and e8 queen. This pawn is running, but Caruana returns the blunder back and plays queen d6. MVL again returns the blunder, king g7. He simply could have played g5 in this position. The only move to draw in this position is g5. That's extraordinary. Having a lot of time and still making these mistakes. Anyway, back to the game. King g7. Queen c7, check. Well, now it's all downhill for MVL after that blunder. Some desperate checks are going on. This queen is doing a tremendous job of looking at the squares, not to mention protecting king from this file is also a very good job this queen is serving. Some desperate checks. Once king runs out, queen runs out from this checks, king escapes, then absolutely there will be last strikes on this game. Here we go. Queen f5, and there's the last move of the game, queen f6, after which MVL resigned the game. This had been a long game. If he plays queen here, then queen blocks, but there's a very cute trick in this position that I'm going to show you. If black plays queen d4 and white promotes it to a queen immediately, then queen g7 is checkmate. However, white doesn't need to promote this to a pawn. Instead, if he plays queen d4 in this position, then queen takes g6 is checkmate. Well, when he played queen f6, this was the last move of the game. It was a long game, and this game also teaches you have to be really sharp. Even if you are a GM in these positions, you have to be very sharp in the endings. You cannot take endings for lightly. I will making a good lesson on the endgames at how to improve your endgames, the key positions, but that's for another day. That's after this tournament. Do check out other videos on MC Invitational tournament, and I hope you like it. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.